Good morning, everyone. Uh, Today's session will be conducted by Dr. Abdul Rahman Naik, sir. Uh, so I hand over the session to sir. Sir, please carry on the case.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Okay, good morning. So today we are going to discuss about psychotherapeutic methods. So psychotherapeutic methods. Therapeutic therapy. Actually, this is a combination of again two psychotherapy. Psychotherapeutic methods. What different methods being a psychologist or a clinical psychologist are used to cure some psychological disorders. MPCE, right? MPCE program it is. Harini, it is MPCE program.
Thank you, sir. I was thinking today is 23, MPC 23 and 182, so I just got confused. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So psychotherapeutic methods. So psychotherapeutic methods include what are therapies a psychologist or a clinical psychologist is giving to their client to overcome from different disorders. For example, we have CBT, we have SFBT, cognitive behavior therapy, solution focused behavior therapy. Then we have aversion therapy. Then we have play therapy. We have music therapy. There are n number of therapies which we are using in psychology to treat and number of psychological disorders. So here we will be discussing today. First is psychoanalysis or psychoanalytic, yeah, psychodynamic therapy, which was given by Sigmund Freud, and he is the father of psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis. Psychoanalysis, founded by Sigmund Freud, explores human psychological functioning and behavior. So it focuses on human psychology and the behavior part. It encompasses three main components: investigation of the mind, theories about human behavior, and treatment of psychological or emotional illness. So it focuses on three main things, like investigation of the mind, what is going inside the brain, what a person is thinking, theories about human behavior. So different theories which have, like we have behavior theories, we have other theories about human behavior, how human behavior works, and treatment of psychological or emotional illness. It helps us to treat or overcome from psychological or emotional illness. There are at least 22 theoretical orientations within psychoanalysis. Almost like 22 theoretical orientations are there within psychoanalysis. So actually, psychoanalysis is again a school of thought which was led by Sigmund Freud, and there are some other psychologists. And Anna Freud is there, his daughter only. They have worked on this school. They have given a lot of contribution over this, influencing approaches to treatment and understanding of human development. Psychoanalytic theories can be categorized into different theoretical schools, emphasizing the impact of unconscious elements on mental life. Influential theories within psychoanalysis include those addressing cause of syndromes and debates over optimal treatment methods. So, some of the theories we are still using, which were given by Sigmund Freud or psychoanalytic school of thought, so that are still common and widely used throughout the world. Basic human drive. Sigmund Freud listed two fundamental drivers: motivational drive, behavior, sex, eros, and aggression, underlying all thoughts, emotions, and actions. He said all our behavior, including our thoughts, emotions, and actions, are because of two different drivers. Number one drive is motivational human behavior, that is sex and aggression. His major work is on sexual behavior and aggression. So he said it is because of that. Freud emphasizes sex as a crucial driving force in human nature, tried to procreation and species survival evidence even in animals. So what he focus is that man is or human beings are, it's in nature that they are going for the new generation for reproduction and all. Even we can see the evidences in animals also. That is the only purpose they have. There is a lot of criticism, that is another part to Sigmund Freud's theory. Okay. Aggression or the death instinct survives as a means of self-protection and survived by eliminating threats. So aggression or the death instinct serves as a means of self-protection. So why people do aggression? Mm, so what was his logic? To some extent, I agree with that. Yeah, people try to protect themselves so that if you have seen some fight, one person will be shouting, other person, why they will shout, or else if you are the people who are afraid in night, like they will start singing a song, they will start whistling, they will start talking to themselves who are afraid of. So that is the frustration they have, they want to do that in other way, like they want to do self protection through that, right? Then these drives encompass the broader survival instinct, combining the urge to stay alive, procrastinate, and defend against a threat. So, why these urges are there? To stay alive, to procrastinate, like to produce a new generation, or to have family members and all, and defend against threats. So if there is any sort of threat, we are trying to defend from that threat. Observing the animal kingdom reveals these drivers can central to behavior, as central to behavior. Even in animal kingdom, it has been observed that these drivers are central behavior. If you see animals, they have just eat and reproduction. Other than that, there is no other purpose. Freud's theory suggests that complex behavior like pursuing higher education stem from desire to improve oneself, to attract mates, ensure offsprings, and gain advantages over perceived adversaries. So what he suggested is, like people who are going for higher education, there also is a drive to attract the mate. Again, there is a criticism for this theory, lot of criticism, but as per his theoretical this thing, he thought like that. Even people when they are going for higher education, it is because to attract, and to some extent, it is like nowadays we can see people are going. I'm not generalizing, but most of the people are finding their partners in higher education institutes only. So, to some extent, there is criticism, as well as we can say, to some extent, there is a reality also. Structure and topographical model of personality. So, he have given model that's called a topographical model or personality model also. right? So in that, what he defined personality. He said structure of personality, we call it. He gave three concepts in there. He gave first is id, ego, and superego. If you remember in our first class also, in psychodynamics, I think this is psychotherapeutic. So, psychopathology. In psychopathology, I think we have discussed this model, if you remember. But here also we will try to just have a brief about it. Id, ego, superego. So usually we use this word ego. Id is like last time also I tried to explain it. Can you give me any example of id? What id is? Last time we had discussed it. Anyone? Yes. Harini, Durga Vamla. Any example for id or ego? Yes. Okay. So id is present from childhood only. Id is like, for example, if there is a small baby in the family, so the baby want to touch anything, even if it is socket, if it is any red thing, if it is this thing, it is actually free will. Whatever I want to do, I want to do it, right? Babies does not know what is dangerous, what is harmful, what has bad impact or whatever, so they want to do whatever they want to do, right? That's what it is. It is free will. Free will means whatever they like they will go, they won't care whether it is. Then it is us who will be teaching them, okay, this is good or this is bad, this is ganda, like we used to say that. So that's what it is. Then ego comes. Ego has that understanding. Ego says that, okay, if I am doing this, what is going to happen? If I touch the wire, I will get current, I will get shock. So it is still little bit mature than ego. Sorry, ego is mature than it. Then coming to superego, and ego controls it. I like something, I want to eat it. My id, when I am in id stage, I will eat it. It is a cover of headphone. I will put it in mouth. That's my id, right? Ego will say me it is plastic. It will have side effects on my health, so I should not eat it, right? Ego will say me it is not edible, right? So ego controls it. And when we talk about super ego controls both id and ego, right? Just a second. So usually id is present from birth. It is driven by basic instinctual needs and desires, such as hunger, thirst, and sexual urges. So needs. I need this. You might have seen babies saying, even though if it is not edible, they will put everything in their mouth. It operates on the pleasure principle. Actually, that is important. It is a pleasure principle. Babies always get pleasure whatever they want. They just want pleasure. They don't think about the consequences. Seeking immediate gratification without regard for consequence, reality, or morality. They need immediate gratification. Immediate gratification means I need to play this, I need to do this thing. They need immediate gratification, satisfaction, without regard for, they don't care about what consequence will be, what reality is, or what morality is. Right? For example, a child crying for food without considering time, place, or context. Even when you are going with a child in bus, sometimes a child will cry there also because there is no food available in the bus if you're traveling or in the car. But what they need that gratification. They don't care about from where I will get that. They need food, they need that. So that's what ego is, pleasure principle is. It is. Now coming to ego, the ego is the rational part of the personality that develops to mediate between the id and the reality. It
Isaac,
ensures that
Isaac,
it, it ensures that the needs of the id are met in realistic and socially appropriate way. So ego is like it has that reality principle. Reality principle means okay, if I am asking for food, is it possible to arrange this time in this bus? That time they will think about the reality principle, meaning it considers the external world and the consequence of action while satisfying the its desire. So in ego, people will consider their actions. What would be the consequence if they do some actions? For example, an adult who feels hungry but waits until lunchtime because it is socially appropriate. For example, 12 o'clock, I'm feeling so hungry, but my all colleagues have lunch break at 1 o'clock. So, what I will do is I will say, okay, let it be, no issue, I will wait for them. That is what ego is. Then, coming to the superego, third one. Superego is the moral consciousness of the mind, which develops through parental and societal influences. Moral principle it is. Okay, so it is developed through the society and through the parents' moral activities. Okay, it strives for perfection and judges actions based on right and wrong. So, if I do this, what is going to happen? What would be the consequences? So people are thinking that it operates on the morality principle, focuses on ethical considerations, and striving for self-control and ideal behavior. So it has self-control and ideal behavior because it operates on the basis of morality principle, right? Ethics, values, what is ethically right. Sometimes some things are for us, we know there is no consequence, but whether it is ethically right or not, that we need to understand, right? So ethical consideration is again very important. Okay. Then we have, okay, for example, for superego, there is an example: feeling guilty about eating junk food, even though you enjoy it because you believe it is unhealthy or wrong. So having junk food is not a problem. It is not wrong thing. You are buying junk food and having it, but feeling guilty if you have that. That is what morality is, right? That is what morality principle is. Just- Okay. Now we need to understand that um, it is based on what principle now? It is based on pleasure principle. Ego is based on reality principle, and superego is based on morality principle. These are the three important things we need to remember in this. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have topological model, topographical model, we can say. So topographical model also was given by Sigmund Freud, in that he, mm, on the basis of distribution of mind, he classified mind into three: conscious, unconscious, and preconscious stage. So, conscious mind. The conscious mind consists of thoughts and perception that we are fully aware of at the given moment. For example, what is going on right now, the lecture is going on psychotherapy, that we consciously understand, right? So in present time we are in this lecture, so that's what conscious mind is. We are allowed active. So key characteristics in conscious mind are thoughts, feelings, and perceptions that are actively in your awareness. Your thoughts, your feelings, your perception is towards the lecture. It is limited and only holds information currently being processed. So whatever currently is going on, a person is into that only, not about the past thoughts, or not about what is going to happen in the future. Right. Right now you are consciously aware of the words you are reading. Right now you are conscious about aware of the PPT I am sharing. Right. So that's what conscious is. Now preconscious. The preconscious contains information that is not in immediate awareness, but can be easily accessed with attention. When I ask you what you had yesterday in breakfast, you can't say immediately. Then you will take fraction of seconds to think that okay, yesterday, oh, it was dosa, right? So which you can easily access, but it will take little bit time. That's what preconscious is. Or we can say it is an information that is stored and can be brought to consciousness whenever it is needed. So whenever you need it from your subconscious mind, you can put it in the consciousness. Acts as a waiting room for memory and knowledge. So it is like a waiting room. Now you need that, you are calling that. So it is there stored in our brain. You might not currently be thinking of your childhood home, but with a little effort, you can recall it. It's an example, right? Then we have unconscious mind. What is it? The unconscious mind is the largest and most influential part of mind, containing desires, memories, emotions that are repressed or not easily accessible. In unconscious mind, we have a number of desires, we have a number of thoughts, we have a number of memories, right? But easily that are not available. Houses in instinctual drives often related to sexual and aggression. As per Sigmund Freud, he said sometimes we have sexual drives or aggression, but it is in unconscious. We can't represent it. Repressed traumas and unresolved conflicts. Sometimes we have unresolved conflicts which are in unconscious. These unconscious desires and experiences greatly influence behavior without the person being aware of them. Sometimes we does not know why it happened with us. It is because of in our unconscious mind. So accordingly we act some sort of behavior. Deep-seated fears or forgotten traumatic experience that might influence behavior in stable or powerful way. Something is inside me that I have been traumatized by one particular person or one particular community. So whenever I see that community, my behavior will change. My behavior will vary. So that's what in and sometimes dreams. We used to have dreams. Sometimes we used to have some sort of vague dream, some sort of we never expect we will have that dreams. Right? You might have dreams like whatever desire. For example, if I ask students, most of the students will say they have seen question paper in the exam. Did you guys ever saw question paper in the exam in dreams? Yeah, no, okay, okay, no issue. Okay, but there are people who used to see question paper in the this thing because they had that desire. If we could see the question paper before the examination, but that is unconscious. They can't say this thing to teacher, they can't say this thing to parents, but it is in unconscious desire. Sometimes you will see you are flying in the dreams. Sometimes you will see you are meeting somebody like PM or some person who is your role model, which is not possible like this. Each of us have dreams, so that is actually part of unconscious. What Sigmund Freud has described it as. Okay. Stages of psychosexual development. So he has given another theory, that is psychosexual development theory. In this, Sigmund Freud gave. Okay, here I have missed one. Actually, there are five stages: oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency, and genital. These are the five stages he has given in his theory. Right. Now coming to oral stage. What oral stage is? Usually from birth till, some theorists are saying it is till 18 months, some are saying it is till 2 years. So don't get confused. Last time also I told you it can be anything. And some even are saying it is from 0 to 1 year. So whatever date you are writing, it won't affect. Not a big deal. Okay. So in this focus is on mouth, sucking and biting. So you see a 0 to 1 year or 0 to 18 months baby always spends most of his time or her time in sucking behavior. So forceful feeding, underfed, overfed. Okay. So it is all about feeding, right? Primary source of pleasure in this stage is feeding, sucking. So what kids, even if a baby, small baby, they will cry. They just need milk. They just need feeding. They just need sucking, that behavior. Key conflicts. Warning, because less reliant and oral stimulation. Okay, so usually what in this oral stage, Sigmund Freud has said, if the gratification in this stage is not satisfied, so each individual have some sort of gratification. For example, we are having food, we get that gratification, okay, now we are full, right? So Sigmund Freud said if the gratification is not fulfilled, then there will be oral fixation. Oral fixation could lead to issues such as smoking, overeating, or nail biting in adulthood. So, such behavior like smoking cigarette and all, overeating, or nail biting in adulthood is because of not having gratification in the oral stage, or it is called oral fixation. Clear? So this is the first stage what Sigmund Freud gave. Then second stage is anal stage, which is from 18 months to 3 years, or 24 months to 2 years to 3 years, or 1 year to 3 years. So now it again varies from book to book, reference to reference. Anus. So the main focus on this is anus, bowel and bladder control, toilet training actually what we used to say. So in this, the babies are involved into toilet training, controlling bladder and bowel movement is toilet training. Okay. Key conflict, control and independence. So key conflict is control. So we are trying to ask the babies you have to control. Whenever you feel that you have to go for washroom, you just let us know. So they have to control and they need to understand the independence. Fixation results. Anal fixation can result in either extreme orderliness or messiness in later. So people who have not gratification in this stage, there may be a problem in orderliness. For example, extreme orderliness. For example, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, or
Yes.
messiness, keeping things in mess, right? Orderliness, matlab keeping things in orderless. So they won't be able to control things. It is opposite what they are going to do in that. So that will happen. So that is anal stage. Usually it is like toilet training. Then we have helix stage, which is from 3 to, again some theories say 5, some say 6. Okay. So in this they focus on genitals. The primary source of pleasure is discovery of genitals and differences between sexes. So in phallic stage, there will be the babies will be able to understand the differences between the sexes. I am boy, I am girl. Okay. So key conflicts. In this, there are two conflicts given by Sigmund Freud, and later on one more conflict was added. Oedipus complex for boys and Electra complex for girls, involving a desire for the opposite sex parent and rivalry with the same sex parent. Okay. So what happen if you see boys are more into their mothers at this stage. Boys act like their father, they will be trying to shave like their father. Girls act like pretending as the mother, they will be doing like mm, that they will use the utensils, they will start cooking that hypothetical and that toys utensils, toy utensils. So that's what is. There is another complex that's called Jocasta complex. So what Sigmund Freud said, in Oedipus complex, boys will be sexually attracted to their mothers. Girls in Electra complex will be sexually attracted to their uh, fathers. And there is another one that is called Jocasta complex. In Jocasta complex, Jocasta was a lady who was sexually attracted to the sun. That's why it got named as Jocasta complex. Okay. Fixation result. Issue with authority or sexual dysfunction may arise if not resolved. So, if the gratification in this stage is not resolved, there may be issues with authority or sexual dysfunction may arise if not resolved. Then coming to next stage, which is latency stage, it is from 6 years till 12 years, or it is also called puberty. So, in this, focus is dormancy of sexual feelings. Primary source of pleasure is none. Sexual energy is repressed. Key activities developing social skills, friendship, and intellectual pursuit. So, this is like preschool. So, they will be developing friendships, peer groups, and all. So social skills they will be developing, intellectual pursuits, and fixation result. This stage is typically one of the stability. with less risk of fixation. So in this stage, there is less risk of fixation. There is less risk of any sort of disorder. Okay. After that, we have genital stage, mature sexual interest. So in this, the focus is mature sexual interest. Primary source of pleasure is establishing healthy adult sexual relationships. So it is 12 years onwards. Key conflict: balancing sexual desires with societal expectation. So conflict in this is balancing sexual desires with social expectation. So in society, what we don't expect in teenage, somebody should fall in love and all, right, or have sexual desires and all. But there is a conflict because it is treated as antisocial, not nowadays, but earlier it was. And even some parents now also, like, usually we don't prefer students to fall in love and all in teenage, because this stage we usually prefer that is like, yeah, their teaching studying stage. Okay. So um, there is a conflict, balancing sexual desire with societal expectations. Society is, and that's why if you see students are seeing teacher, even their friends, they will hide and all. Fixation result. According to Freud, successful navigation of early stage leads to well adjustment adults capable of forming healthy romantic relationships. So he said, according to Sigmund Freud, early stage leads to well adjustment. If people are earlier into such behavior, they will have well adjustment adult capability of forming healthy romantic relationship. Okay. So yes, setting down a loving one to the into the relationship with another one, well adjusted, mature, able to love to be loved. Sexual instinct is directed to heterosexual pleasure. Okay. So in this stage, they get this. They want this pleasure. Okay. So these were the stages of sexual development, psychosexual theory or sexual development. Now, ego defense mechanism. Ego defense mechanism or defense mechanism is another Sigmund Freud's contribution in psychology. So, defense mechanism. Yes. So, defense mechanism is a mechanism where we want to defend ourselves from anything, right? So, for example, we go through each one. If a student is coming late to the class, nobody will say it is because of I woke up late. They will say because my alarm was not working. Nobody will say I did not feel to come to class. They will say because bus was late. Right? That is defense mechanism. So we have one, for example, repression. The ego keeps disturbing or threatening thoughts from becoming conscious. A person may forget a traumatic event from their childhood because of the memory is too painful to recall. Repression. Sometimes when we are keeping something away, which will disturb us, we don't want to recall something which might have uh, been a traumatic for us in the childhood, or which will give us a pain, right? So that's what a repression is. We are repressing our desires. Then we have denial, another defense mechanism. The refusal to accept reality or fact, acting as if a painful event or feeling does not exist. A person who is diagnosed with serious illness may refuse to believe that they are sick. For example, a person who is having psychological illness. So in our this thing, in our mental states examination, we have one question about insight level. How much insight level a person has when they are ill. So it depends on their insight. So if a person is, sometimes people won't believe that they are ill. If something wrong happened to them, they won't believe that, right? They will feel, no, no, nothing has happened to me. There is nothing. So that is denial. Denial from the reality, right? Then another is projection. Attributing one's own unacceptable thoughts or feelings to others. I, for example, I don't like somebody. I am saying you don't like me. Projecting my thoughts on somebody. Attributing one's own unacceptable thoughts, which is not acceptable, or feelings to others. A person who is angry at their boss might accuse the boss of being angry at them. I am actually angry on my boss, but I am saying you are angry at me. That's what projection is. Another is displacement. Now, displacement. Displacement means redirecting emotions or feelings, often anger, from the original source to a safer target. So, for example, I my boss scolded me, my vice chancellor scolded me, but I can't scold him back because he is higher authority, right? What I will do, whoever is my junior, I will scold that person. That's what displacement is. Redirecting emotions. I have got scolding, so my emotions you can understand. Redirecting them, our feelings, often anger, from the original source. It is because of VC sir, original source, to a safer target. Now my junior can't say me anything. I am putting that in families. If your father scold you, you won't scold him back. You will scold your younger siblings, right? So that is what displacement is. Then we have sublimation, another one. Sublimation is redirecting unacceptable desires or impulses into socially acceptable activities. Redirecting unacceptable desires. Unacceptable desires means, for example, something is not acceptable. For example, to be very angry is not acceptable, but a person makes it socially acceptable. How? Going into gym, there they can do whatever they want. They can take all their frustration out on the equipment, right? So that's what something which is unacceptable socially, making that acceptable in society. Going to gym is acceptable in society, right? So that way we can make it. That's what sublimation is. Redirecting unacceptable desires or impulses into socially acceptable activities. A person with aggressive tendencies might take up boxing as a way to channel their aggression into a productive manner. Then rationalization. Justifying an unacceptable behavior or feeling by creating logical reason for it. A person who did not get the job they want might say that they did not really want the job in the first place. Sometimes, if you are getting rejected somewhere, saying, "Oh, I don't like actually that job. Anyway, I got rejected. It is good only. Actually, I don't like that place." That's what rationalization is. Even you are justifying your unacceptable behavior. That is unacceptable behavior, but still you are justifying it. Then we have another one is there, regression. Reverting to behavior that is characterized of an earlier stage of development when faced with stress. For example, an adult may throw a temper tantrum when they did not get their way. So, reverting to behavior that is characterized by, for example, sometimes when We are acting like earlier stage acting like child. Why you are doing childish behavior? I did a mistake in front of my father, I will act like as a child so that I will be escaped from the punishment. So that's what a repression is. Another we have reaction formation. Acting in a way that is opposite to one's unacceptable impulse or desire. A person who is harboring hostile feelings towards someone might be overly nice to them. So, reaction formation. Sometimes I don't like to talk somebody, but because of something I am trying to change that. My reaction is very angry, but I had to be very polite with that person. That is reaction formation. So these are some defense mechanisms. Mm, uh, okay. Yes. So these are the defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms, in short, are mechanisms which we use to defend ourselves. Right. Object relations theory. Object relation theory, an adaptation of psychoanalytic theory. So it was an adaptation of psychoanalytic theory, emphasized that human psychological development is shaped through interactions with others. So what they believe is human psychological development is shaped through when we interact with other people, then only the our interaction, through that interaction development is shaped. So people are learning through interacting with others, right? It distinguishes between physical and psychological birth. So objective relation theory distinguishes, it makes difference between psychological and physical birth, with the later occurring over the first 3 years of the life within social relations. During this period, a symbiotic relationship with the primary caretaker is established. So, in initial stages, what they will do is they will establish a relationship with primary caretaker. Primary caretaker may be mother, maybe the caregiver. Right. The mother's emotional availability and ability to maintain separateness are crucial during the symbiotic stage, fostering the child's development. So, mother's availability and ability is very important to maintain the child's uh, development. Boys must repress feminism components to become masculine, leading to aggression and power dynamic in relationships. So boys are repressing feminine components. Feminine components means, for example, whatever the, for example, crying. What we are saying, if a boy is crying at home, we are saying you are not a girl. So sometimes they have to repress their emotions, right? If a girl is shouting, we are saying you are not boy. Keep your voice this thing, because there is a stereotype that boy cannot cry, girl cannot shout. So girls have to minimize their masculine characteristics and boys have to minimize their feminine characteristics, leading to aggression and power dynamics in relationship. Girls tend to prioritize relationship over autonomy, forming strong gender identity but weaker self-identity. Strong gender identity but weaker self-identity. We always perceive that females have to go in another
ఎందుకురా మళ్ళీ
house
మీ అక్క దగ్గరికి
and
వెళ్తావు
they should not have their self-identity.
ఏ
Their self-identity is with their family. Soumya, please mute your mic. Free Soumya. Shri Soumya, please mute your mic. Father play a role in separation, individuation, offering an alternative identity for the child to identify with. Social patterns and experiences of caretaker influence the child. So, what actually objective relation theory, in short, says? Objective relation theory says that the child is developed with the development through social or peer group or in the society. They learn from the others. While they are interacting with others, they are learning from them. And also their primary objective, this theory's primary objective was typically the child's parents, especially mother, are the first object that child relate to. So mother is the first object to child, the child relates to. So that is the most important prioritized point in this. So baby, whenever there is a child, the first thing what he sees the mother, and mother is the priority. And then they are emphasizing that, that's why it's called objective relations theory. Relations theory, how they are uh, maintaining or they are learning, it is through the interaction with others. So mother will be coming as the first one. Then we have, one second, right now, attachment theory. Attachment theory, again, very important. So attachment theory, it was given by John Bowlby. Attachment theory. So in attachment refers to the emotional bond that forms between an infant and their primary caretaker. So it is a bond. Attachment is a bond between the infant, the baby, and the primary caregiver. Primary caregiver may be mother, it may be parents, it may be the caretaker. Okay. The bond serves as a foundation of the child's emotional security and social development. So, in this, child's emotional and social development starts. Right. So, Bowlby believed that the need for the attachment is an evolutionary survival mechanism that ensures infants stay close to caregiver for protection and care. So, what he said, it is a evolutionary survival mechanism, attachment, that ensures the child, infant, stay close to caregivers for protection and care. So sorry, the infant believes that they will be taken care and protected by their initial caregiver, right? Internal working model. So what was his internal working model? One second. Okay, no, second point is attachment behavior aims to achieve psychophysiological state related to being in close proximity with the mother or caregiver rather than merely seeking objects. So, in this, infant tries to make a connection close to the mother and caregiver. If you give a 2 month old baby even toys, they won't get pleasure from toys. They want to be especially with the mother or caregiver. So they, rather than seeking objects, they will be with mother and caregiver. Adults may resort to pathology, scare based phenomena when stressed or threatened, such as substance abuse, as a shortcut to the psychological state of security. Adults, in adults, if they are not getting the uh, secure phenomena. So, for example, in adults, why people are getting stress? Because so especially when they are getting into drugs or when they are getting in substance abuse, it is because that time they are not with the loved ones, they are not dependent on someone that time, so they are away from the caregiver. Most of the cases you will see in substance abuse and all, who are going to use that? If
అయితే అక్కడ క్లిప్ ఉంది తెచ్చిస్తే
majority of
వెళ్ళిపోయాడు
the
దాన్ని అయితే ఇట్రా ఇట్రా
Sri Sri
అభి
Soumya,
అక్కడ
could you
క్లిప్ ఉంది
please
చూడు
put your mic off? Sri Soumya. Ah, thank you. Okay. Okay. Ainsworth et al. Work redefined attachment theory through the study of infant response in the strange situation test leading to classification of attachment styles. So Ainsworth did reframe the attachment theory, and he, instead of attachment theory, gave attachment styles, different attachment styles. Adult attachment categories include secure, autonomous, insecure, dismissing, preoccupied, and disorganized, unresolved individuals. So he have defined in different categories: insecure versus autonomous, insecure versus dismissing, preoccupied, and disorganized versus unresolved individuals. So he categorized different styles in attachment. Empirical research supports attachment theory. So there are empirical research studies which support the results of attachment theory, demonstrating that expecting parents' mental models predict subsequent attachment patterns. So there are empirical studies, like research studies, which are supporting the attachment theory, which are demonstrating that expected parents' mental models predict the subsequent attachment patterns. So each individual have some sort of attachment pattern. That's what they mean to say. Now we have psychoanalytic or psychodynamic therapy, basic trends. The unconscious, the okay, the unconscious, the developmental perspective, subjectivity, transference, resistance, countertransference, psyche determinism. Okay. The unconscious, as we earlier discussed, whatever is in our unconscious thoughts, which we are not openly sharing. For example, I have a desire to become something, which sometimes may not be possible. So it is in unconscious thought only. Okay. Developmental perspectives is how we are going to develop in throughout, like, lifespan development, as we saw this psychosexual theory, oral anal failure, latency genital. So that way, that's what developmental perspective is. Subjectivity. So in their therapy, what they try to do is, in psychodynamic therapy or psychoanalytic therapy, they try to understand what all the desires an individual have in their unconscious mind, what are the difficulties they face during the developmental perspective, what is the subjectivity. Subjectivity is how we can define subjectivity. Subjectivity is, for example, how was your experience with class? It is a subjectivity. Do you had breakfast? Yeah, you will say yes or no. That is very objective. But if I ask you, how is your experience for yesterday's class or day before yesterday's class? So you will describe it. That's what subjectivity is. Transference and countertransference, these are two concepts which happen during counseling. So transference means when The client is sexually attracted towards the counselor. This was the concept given by psychoanalysts, that transference. Transference is when a client, a patient, or a person who is having any sort of psychological disorder is sexually attracted towards the counselor who is treating them. Resistance. Resistance means to what extent you can resist to share your emotions or feelings. Then countertransference. Countertransference means when the therapist or when the counselor is sexually liking or having feelings towards the client, that is countertransference. Then we have, so there are a number of cases actually. In time of Sigmund Freud also there was a case. The first psychiatric, she was under treatment with Coral Jung. So there was countertransference. That's why they have focused on this countertransference, transference. Psyche determinism means it is a key concept of psychoanalytic theory. It refers to the idea that all thoughts, feelings, and behavior are determined by unconscious process. So, psychodeterminism means all the thoughts, feelings, and behavior are determined by unconscious process, meaning that there is no such thing as accidental or random mental activity. Sometimes you are doing some activity or you are watching something. Sometimes people are having dreams with God. Sometimes people are having like weird dreams which they never expect. But Sigmund Freud said there is nothing which is sudden, there is nothing which is not existing. It is because of the unconscious feelings, unconscious mind, whatever is inside unconscious mind, that only comes in dreams. Components of psychoanalytic and psychodynamic therapy. So, what are the components in this? Three essential features of the psychoanalytic model are: interpretation includes classification, confrontation, and interpretation. So, first is classification. Classification means, sorry, clarification. Clarification means we are opening the issue, clarifying. Confrontation. Confrontation means taking confront, like trying to face the challenge, confront. Then interpretation. Interpretation means how we are interpreting it, our perception towards it. Then second stage is technical neutrality. Technical neutrality is how we are technically trying to sort out it. Third is important point, self disclosure. Until and unless, so I was also doing counseling in Apollo Hospital. So what used to happen, sometimes some client won't be able to reveal you this thing, especially there was young youth and all. So if they have some relationship issue and all, they will feel okay, how we can reveal to a psychologist like this. Then I used to say them, oh, I even had a breakup in this year. What is wrong in that? I would try, I would like interpret the things what they are hesitating to share. Then, oh, I also had, this is a stage only that. Then they, oh, sir, doctor also had the same issue. So we can, they feel more comfortable. That's why sometimes self disclosure. If they say with parents we have conflict, even I had conflict. Then I went and say sorry. They were very happy. So that will give them that motivation. Okay, we can share. It's a comfort zone, right? And that's why self disclosure is very important in counseling. Sometimes we can make it hypothetical, sometimes it may be true also. So self disclosure. Then we have distinctive features of psychodynamic technique. Focus on effect and expression of emotions. So there is a term, if affect and effect. Can anybody tell me the difference between affect and effect? Anyone? You can unmute and tell me the difference between affect and effect. You think till that time I will fill the water bottle. But I want answer. Yes, affect and effect. Can anybody tell me the difference?
Affect means cause and the effect means results.
Cause and results. Okay, anyone else?
Sir, affect means change and effect means it's a consequence.
Okay. For example, I will give you an example. In my class, I am scolding some student. Whether it will affect or affect the student.
Effects.
Effect. How? Only effect, not affect. How many of you are saying it will only affect the student if I am scolding one student in my class? Okay, so it will have both effect as well as effect. Effect means they will be disturbed, they won't have food, or they may start crying. That is going to be effect. Affect means their mood. They will be upset, they will be angry, or they will be sad. Affect means mood. Understood the difference? So there will be
Yes,
both.
sir.
So focus on affect, and affect here is mood and expression of emotions. Exploration of attempts to avoid distressing thoughts and feelings. So exploration of attempts to avoid distressing thoughts. Distressing thoughts means the thoughts which will give them distress or trauma and feelings. Identification of rescuing themes and patterns. So to understand the themes and patterns in which direction this is going. Sometimes the client is not opening up in first session that what actually issue they have. So it is the counselor's duty, clinical psychologist's duty to identify actually what is the issue. Clear? Discussion of past experience. Discussion of past experience, developmental focus. Okay, so how was the past? So, what was the development? How development happened? Even if you have seen any clinical interview for a child or an adult, they will even ask whether birth cry was available or not when your birth happened, whether the development milestones were up to the mark. Focus on interpersonal relationships. How are your friendship? How many friends you had in school time? How many friends you had in college life? So that all are having impact on this. Focus on the therapy relationship. Therapy relationship, it should not be very close. It should not be okay. Now you are a client, so we are good friends. You can't say a client you are a friend. So you need to maintain that boundary also with the client. That okay, this is the boundary. Client should not, sometimes what happen is most of the time okay they got somebody to talk, so they will call at 10 o'clock also. No, there is personal space, you need to maintain that. Okay, if you have any issue you can text, I will give you appointment, you have to talk on that time only. Exploration of fantasy life. So you need to explore their fantasy life. What are their wishes and like what are their unconscious thoughts. Okay. Insight psychotherapy, interpersonal psychotherapy. Okay. Insight psychotherapy. Insight therapy is the umbrella term used to describe a group of different therapy techniques that have some similar characteristics in theory and thought. So, insight therapy, psychotherapy, it consists of many therapies, right? So, it's an umbrella term. That's an umbrella term under which there are so many things coming on. Insight therapy assumes that person's behavior, thoughts, and emotions become disorders because the individual do not understand their motives him. So what insight therapy assumes, they assume that people's behavior, thoughts, and emotions become a disorder. So whatever we think, whatever we have feelings, emotions are becoming problematic when when individual does not understand what motivates him. When I don't understand what is giving me motivation, especially when a conflict develops. Usually when conflict develops between personal needs and his drives. I need something, but my wish is something else. So there is a conflict between need and drive. Then only disorder will occur. The different type of insight therapies are described below: psychoanalysis, psychoanalytic, existential therapy, person-centered therapy, behavioral therapy, and gestalt therapy. Psychoanalysis we already discussed. Now, analytic psychology. Analytic psychology develops by Carl Gustav Jung. Okay, combines Freudian and humanistic psychology. So he combines Freudian therapy and humanistic approach. Both approaches he combined and gave analytic psychological approach. Emphasizes the importance of unconscious in human. He focuses on unconscious mind in human behavior. Jung introduced the concept of collective consciousness. So his contribution was collective consciousness, a survivor of sheer experience across humanity, containing positive and creative focus rather than solely sexual aggressive ones. So Sigmund Freud solely talk about sexual and aggression ones, which we discussed earlier, but he talk about collective unconscious. Okay, positive and creative forces. We talk about positive and creative forces in that. Personality types in analytic psychology are organized into extroversion and introversion groups. So personality he divided into extrovert and introvert. Extrovert are those who are open, who are social. Opposite of that is introvert. That we all know. With emphasis on purpose, decision making, and goal setting. He emphasized on decision making, goal setting, and purpose. Jungian therapy focuses on analysis unconscious processes to integrate them into conscious thought and address conflict. So what he tried to do is he tried to bring the unconscious process or unconscious thought into conscious thought and address the conflict if there is any conflict. For example, unconsciously I want to become something. Okay, usually there are n number of unconscious thoughts people have, right? Some people want to marry somebody, right, but they can't express that, so that is their unconscious this thing, right? So in that way, what Jung tried to do is try to bring it in the conscious level so that they will address the conflict. Personality is explained through three levels of consciousness: the conscious, the personal unconscious, and which containing repressed conflict, and the collective consciousness, unconsciousness. So, as per Jung, he gave three levels of consciousness: the conscious, the person unconscious, containing present, represent conflicts, repressed. Sorry. So he said unconsciousness is containing repressed conflicts, and the collective consciousness, unconsciousness, housing archetypes and instincts. So in collective unconscious, there are instincts. Instincts means khaishat, right? So this was what was Jung's therapy, which is the combination of humanistic approach and Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic approach. Then existential therapy came. Existential therapy was given by two persons. So Viktor Frankl, if you have heard the name, Viktor Frankl was the leading person. Existential therapy, rooted in existing philosophy, focuses on the importance of existence and one's role for their own psychological well being. So they talk about existing. Who I am. This is the concept of who I am or who am I. Right. So what existential, why I exist. It is a philosophical concept actually. It focuses on importance of existence and one's responsibility for their own psychological well-being. It also said one's responsibility, like one is responsible for his own wellness, right? If there is some problem, it is because of myself only. If I am having psychological issue or some other issue, it is because of myself only. So that's what existential therapy believes. Unlike other therapies, existential therapy focuses life themselves over specific techniques, encouraging them self-awareness and reflection on human existence. So what they believe is they believe that people should focus on existence, their own existence, their self-existence, right? So that's what existential therapy try to do. Early existential therapy, trained in Freudian psychoanalysis, disagreed with Freud. So, lot of therapists or schools of thoughts have disagreed with earlier existing therapies, and they have introduced it, incorporating their thought and something new. So, same way, existential therapists trained in Freudian psychoanalysis disagreed with Freudian's emphasis on biological drivers or unconscious process, preferring to see patients as they are in reality. They were in reality. So they were disagreeing with Sigmund Freud. Concept of existential therapy emerged from European philosophers like Kierkegaard and Stuart Joseph, Heidegger, and Stryer. Then the leading actually is existential who have given meaning in man's meaning in life is Viktor Frankl, which is not written here. The therapy emphasizes that the therapeutic relationship and explores common existential themes in the patient's life, helping them realize their full potential. So they focus on individual's life. What is my potential? If I understand my potential, then I won't have any conflict. So what existential therapy says that you need to first understand your potential, what all you can do, right? Therapists in existential therapy must be fully aware of patients and their needs to facilitate self awareness and personal responsibility in the patient's life. So, what they believe is existential therapy. Therapist in existing therapy must be aware of patient and their needs. So they should be aware of patient, what patient is, who patient thinks about himself, and what are their needs to facilitate self-awareness. So then only they can facilitate them. They can provide them self-awareness and personal responsibility of the patient's life, right? Then we have person centered therapy. That was about existential therapy. Now we have person centered therapy. So it is actually given by humanistic therapists. So Core Roger, once called non-directive therapy. So once upon a time it was known as non-directive therapy, person-centered therapy. The client-centered therapy. It is also known as client-centered therapy. Person-centered therapy was developed by American psychologist Carl Roger. Person-centered therapy looks at assumptions made about the human nature and how people can try to understand their assumptions. So it is looked at assumption about the human nature, how is a human being's nature, and how people can try to understand these their assumptions. Like other humanistic therapists, Roger believed that people should be responsible for themselves even when they are in trouble. So if some problem happened to me, I should think that it is because of myself, as per Roger's theory. So that's why he said when people are in trouble, they should try to understand it is their responsibility. They should believe they are responsible for that. The components of the ideal therapeutic climate includes the following: genuineness from the therapy. Just a second. Okay. So the components in this is genuineness from the therapist. Genuineness. So therapist should be genuine. One second. Okay. Genuine. So the therapist should be there should be genuineness from the therapist. Unconditional positive regard for the client. So this is the another point they have focused on: unconditional positive regard. Unconditional positive regard means when you are giving a positive regard which is unconditional. Unconditional, you know what is unconditional? Unconditional means, for example, if a person is crossing a road, there is an old person, you are trying to help him, despite of knowing that I am not going to get anything from the person, right? So that's what unconditional. So here also they focus on unconditional regard to the client. Empathy for the client. There should be empathy. We should feel the pain of the client. So that's what person-centered therapy they have given, and these are the key components for their therapy: genuineness of the therapist, unconditional positive regard for the client, and empathy for the client. The therapeutic process in client centered therapy, the therapist clarifies rather than interprets the client's experience. So, In this, they are focusing to clarify the doubts instead of interpreting it. See, in other therapies, we are trying to interpret the issue, but here they are trying to clarify instead of interpreting, which focuses client to develop their own solutions. With the help of that, they are able to develop their own solutions. Who are able to develop? Client. Cognitive therapies. Aaron Beck, 1970s to 1980s, put forward this therapy and stated that cognitive psychology tries to look at how people process information. So, cognitive therapy, or we can say cognitive behavior therapy, later on came. Behavior therapy was separate, cognitive therapy was separate. Then they make it CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. So, cognitive therapy says that it is all because of the cognition, because of the thought process, right? So, Arun Beck was the person who gave cognitive therapy. Behavioral therapies. There are three important assumptions that. One second. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, yes, ma'am. No, no, it's going on, ma'am. There are three students. It is showing you are there, like you are logged in. RC Vijayawada. Okay. Okay. So, behavior therapies. There are three important assumptions in behavior therapy. The problematic behavior is a product of learning. So, what behavior therapists believe, see, each therapist or each school of thought in psychology, either it is psychodynamic, either it is humanistic, or it is uh, existential, existential. So, each have their own assumptions towards the faulty behavior. So, what behavior therapists believe is the problematic behavior is a product of learning. So, they said if a person is having problematic behavior, abnormal behavior, it is because of the learning problem. Remember little Albert with his conditional fear of rats? There was a learning phobia, learned phobia. So there was an experiment by Albert. So they said it is because of learning. For example, in babies, we use this word that have food, otherwise we will call cat. Rat will come, dog will come. So we are creating that phobia. They feel that these are some species which are going to eat me or which are going to be very harmful. So they develop phobia against them. So always I suggest to people, do not do that. They will create any phobia for saving their time or for making baby silent. They are actually putting them in psychological trouble. Okay, so there should not be a phobia. Learning behavior can be unlearned. So another assumption is learned behavior. Whatever I learn, it can be unlearned also. Remember little Peter, whose fear of white rabbits was vanished with the use of milk and cookies as a reinforcement. So there was another experiment where Peter has fear of rabbits. So instead of that, they use milk and cookies to give him reinforcement to remove that fear. So that's what they said. Learned behavior. They make him fear of a white rabbit. Then they unlearn that by milk. Everybody loves milk. Cookies everybody likes, right? So by that way they unlearn that. That's what they are saying. Learned behavior can be unlearned. Then problematic learning behavior can be extinguished over time. So whatever problematic behavior is, it can be removed over time. It will take time. So these were the three assumptions what behavioral therapists has. The following are the behavior therapeutic approaches. Systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization is, so, for example, systematic desensitization is, it is a systematic way where we help clients to reduce some behavior. For example, a person is having OCD. obsessive compulsive disorder. For example, a person is having fear of sitting in airplane. So how systematically we can help them to get into airplane? Can anybody tell me how it works, systematic desensitization? Yes, no? Okay. So a person is having fear of airplane. So what we are doing is we are planning. For example, what we are going to do is first, or a person is having fear of contamination. Simple example, contamination. So we are taking the person to such place. For example, we are touching some dustbin. Then we are not allowing the person to wash the hands, and we are measuring how much stress, how much anxiety the person will have, right? Or a person is having fear of hills or aeroplanes. So what we usually do is we are planning a trip where we are planning. Okay, we will go there on some island where it will be only by here. Okay, after that we are bringing a toy of airplane. We are showing that person that toy. There will be little bit anxiety, then it will get reduced. We have to measure it. We have to give little bit exposure. Okay. After that, we are taking that person once into airport with authorities' permission and all. We are allowing him to sit in that plane first time, which is not going to fly, just sitting in the plane, then taking the individual back. So slowly, the person is getting exposure towards the planes. Then next time, after some time, we are booking the ticket, and one person will accompany the person. So slowly, that fear will go away. That's what systematic desensitization is. Then aversion therapy. Aversion therapy is also used for example, somebody is drinking, not water, alcohol, right? So that person want to reduce that behavior, drinking behavior. What we are doing, whenever he touches this, we will be giving electric shock, but not that 11,000. It will be variable, like very low voltage. So if we continuously do it for 1 month, then even though when we are not giving shock, whenever he touches the bottle, he will get conditioned to that. He will get shock, so he won't touch it. That is what aversion therapy is. Then social skill training, you all know that what social skill training is. Developing the skills. Every individual have the skills, but development of that skills within them is bit difficult. So we need to develop that one, right? Then we have gestalt therapy. So gestalt therapy, okay. Gestalt therapy focus on the wholeness of personality and emphasize current life experience to help individuals balance conflicting feelings and functioning better in everyday life. So Gestalt's principle is whole is greater than its parts. Whole is greater than its parts. For example, this is a pen. This is one part. This is another part. This is another. So they said these all parts. So this whole pen is greater than these parts. So they believe into whole. Now it is a perfect pen. If I have this only or this only. So what they believe is whole is this pen is greater than its parts. When it is combined, is greater than its parts. That is their concept, a principle actually. So the gestalt therapy focus on the wholeness of personality and emphasize current life experiences to help individuals balance conflicting feelings and function better in everyday life. Developed by Friedrich S. Parlus, gestalt therapy emphasizes increased awareness of unknowledgeable feelings and parts of personality previously denied. So what he emphasized on is awareness of unacknowledged feelings which we don't acknowledge, the feelings which we don't acknowledge, and parts of the personality previously denied, the parts of our personality which previously we have denied, which we did not acknowledge. So he is focusing on that. Gestalt therapy integrates humanistic and existential aspects with first rejecting some basic concepts of psychoanalytic theory. So I told you each therapy, whatever therapy came, they came like while criticizing the other one. So psychodynamic was the initial one. Then humanistic criticized psychodynamic and came with another thing. Then behavioristic criticized both and came with another thing. Then existential criticized all and came with another thing. So all of them, Gestalt also criticized others and came with their new idea. Okay. Therapists focus on patients. Okay. Therapy view people as basically good. So therapy views people. So in Gestalt therapy, they believe that every people are good. Individual is a good person, good with psychological problems stemming from frustration and denial of innate goodness. So, whatever problem they are creating, whatever abnormal behavior they are having, it is because of frustration and denial of innate goodness. Right? Therapists focus on patient's creative aspect rather than problematic part. So, in this, therapist is not thinking about the problematic part; they are talking about the creative part. Right? Emphasizing the patient's movement on the therapy session. The therapy discourages dwelling on the past or asking why, as it seems as an attempt to escape responsibility for present decision. So they are not interested in the past. What happened yesterday? What happened last year? Somebody failed. Somebody got less marks. Why you are regretting that? You be in present. What now you can do? So they focus on present. Awareness is considered corrective in gestalt therapy with techniques like empty chair technique used to confront and overcome unresolved feelings are compared. Empty chair technique. So they are trying to uh, awareness construct curative in gestalt with the empty chair technique used to confront. Empty chair technique is what they used to do is a therapeutic intervention often used gestalt therapy which developed by this experiential technique that helps individual address unresolved issues or internal conflict by symbolically engaging with others part of them in structure and shape. For example, empty chair technology is in front of you there is empty chair and you are trying to share you are trying to confront your unresolved emotions relationships aspects of self. The goal of empty chair technique is to foster self-awareness emotional expression and personal insights. It encourages individuals to confront unresolved emotions relationships or aspects themselves express unspoken feelings gain a new perspective on personal conflicts or past traumas, give a new perspective on personal, okay, work through internal conflicts such as different parts of the self that are in opposition. One is rational side versus emotional side. Sometimes rational and emotional there is a conflict. We used to say दिल ये बोल रहे हैं दिमाग ये बोल रहे हैं. My heart is saying I should go there. My brain is saying no, there is too much traffic. I should not go there. So when there is a conflict between these two, right? The therapist place an empty chair in front of the client. So how we are doing that? Chair is placed in front of client. The empty chair represents a person such as a parent, partner, or friend, a situation, or even a part of the client's personality, like the inner critic or inner childhood. Then there will be role play. The client is encouraged to imagine the person. Sometimes I want to confront something to my parents, but I don't have the courage to say that I want to marry somebody. For example, hypothetical. I don't have the courage. So what in that way they will encourage my courage. Encouraging courage means in such therapy they will make a role play, they will make such a situation where I will confront my dad about this thing. Okay, the client is encouraged to imagine the person or issue they are struggling with setting in the empty chair. The client then speaks directly to the person or part of themselves, expressing feelings or thoughts that have been previously left unsaid. So there is something heavily in my heart I can't share with my dad because I am afraid what will be the reaction. So it will affect my sleep, it will affect my day-to-day routine, it will affect my health. Okay. Now to overcome from this, I can't share with my dad. So through this therapy we can do it, right? A client may talk to a deceased parent, expressing unresolved grief or anger that they never have the chance to share with the parent was alive. Or sometimes when, for example, yesterday only I had a client. She said her mother died, her sister died, and she was sick, and she could not take care of her, and she is feeling that it is because of her fault only that died. Sometimes we have that, okay, he died, he want to share something with me, or we feel regret about that or guilty about that we could not do something, right? So in that case also it is very helpful therapy. A client might sit in the role of that critical boss, responding to the complaints or emotions they express in the first part of the exercise. So sometimes even in you are working somewhere and your boss has scolded you, then you are feeling bad about that. So then when in such an activity, empty chair activity, we are we are asking the client to sit at this and play a role play. Then they will try to understand that what situation the boss may have if they are that place, right? So that's what empty chair technique is. Interpersonal psychotherapy. Interpersonal psychotherapy is a short-term therapy effectively in treating depression, typically involving up to 20 weekly sessions. Interpersonal therapy, okay, it is usually used for treating depression. It focuses on addressing interpersonal issues that contribute to depression, such as disputes, role transactions, and grief beyond normal bereavement. IPT targets. Interpersonal psychotherapy targets specific interpersonal issues identified during the initial sessions, aiming to improve interpersonal functioning to elevate depressive symptoms. Okay. Studies have shown interpersonal therapy to be effective as antidepressant medication in treating depression, and it can also be used to conjunction with medication. So there are studies. See, studies, why research studies. So for example, I am giving some sort of therapy. Until and unless it is not proven that it is very effective, then what is the use to give that? So that's why we are doing some sort of intervention studies or research studies which help us to rectify that how effective our therapy is. Then only we will be able to understand that, right? So studies have shown that it helps in the depression. Maintenance interpersonal psychotherapy is recommended following the short-term treatment to prevent reoccurrence of depression. Even though if some people are depressed and having medicine, so this therapy is recommended so that the depression will not occur again, right? Developed by Gerard Kerman and Marnie Weissman. So, interpersonal therapy has been used in various populations, including adolescents, adulthood, HIV positive patients, and those with dysthymia. Dysthymia means long term depression, bipolar disorder, and bulimia nervosa. Bulimia nervosa is an eating disorder. Bipolar disorder is when you have manic and depression. Interpersonal psychotherapy assumes that person's mood and interpersonal events are independent, focusing on improving interpersonal functioning and alleviating depression. So what it assumes that personal mood and interpersonal events are interdependent. They said mood and interpersonal events are interdependent. They are dependent on each other. So focusing on improving interpersonal functioning. When we are improving interpersonal functioning, so by that way we can elevate depression. That's what interpersonal psychotherapy is. It is time limited, typically consisting of 12 to 16 weekly sessions with a focus on current interpersonal functions. Unlike other therapies, interpersonal therapy does not devolve extensively into the past rather than focusing on the current relationship and function. Again, like other therapies we have seen, gestalt therapy we have seen, they are focusing on the current situation. So same here, interpersonal therapy also focuses on the current rather than the past. So past, yesterday you did something wrong. If you are now discussing, you can't change, you can't go to that time and change it. So that's why it is focusing on the present rather than past. Technique used in interpersonal therapy includes directive or non-directive exploration, clarification, encouraging expression of effect, communication analysis, behavior change technique, and addressing resistance in therapy. Okay. Yeah, so that's what interpersonal therapy is. Short term psychotherapies. Okay, wait. Oh. Short term psychotherapy. Short term psychotherapies have become increasingly popular over the last 2 decades due to the several factors. Short term therapy, why people like short term therapy? Because people don't have time for therapies and all. So, from last 20 years, it has been over popular short term therapies. Okay. So, pressure for cost effectiveness. Healthcare industries have pushed for more cost effective approaches to therapy, leading to the adaptation of short term methods. So, using short term method, it is cost effectiveness. Cost effectiveness matlab price, right? That is one. Refinement of technique. Advances in therapeutic techniques have made therapy more efficient. So the results have become more efficient when it is instead of 1 hour session, when it is 40 minute session or 35 minute session. So results are also good. Influence of research trials. Even it helps us in research trial. For example, I want to conduct a research that which therapy is, so I will also spend less time to get more data. Research trials often focus on short-term approaches, which then become influential in shaping therapeutic practices. Challenge to the idea that longer is better. Okay, the conventional view that people usually believe that it is long as longer you go for session is better. It is challenging to that also. Instinct, interest, intrinsic. Okay, sorry. Intrinsic merit of brief approaches. Intrinsic means when which is within or inside. Many therapists recognize that inherent therapeutic potential of brief therapy and choose to adopt it for its own method. So the brief, like shortness of the therapy is more helpful than when you go for long time. Okay. Defining features of short-term therapies. So what are the features of short-term therapies? Number one, time limit, therapy focus, therapeutic activities, range of applicability. So these are some features of a short-term therapy. Overview of brief therapies. Psychodynamic approach. Then we have derived melon and triangle of insight. Then the word of habit. Overview of brief therapies. The word of habit. Okay. Anxiety provoking and anxiety suppressive therapies. The work of James Munn. Cognitive and behavioral approach, cognitive behavior therapy, cognitive therapy, interpersonal therapy, problem solving therapy, conceptualized, computerized CBT, and guided self help. So these are the overview of brief therapies. This already we discussed. One second. Okay. Psychodynamic approach. Modern brief psychodynamic therapies have roots in the work of Frazin and Alexander and France. David Mellon developed an intensive approach to time-limit therapy focusing on resolving central problems. Mellon's method emphasizes careful assessment, trial interpretation, and a focus on the therapeutic relationship or therapy relationship. Habib method involves pressurizing patients to uncover hidden anxieties and confront them directly. So these were earlier. What happened is psychodynamic approach was also a long time, like it was a time consuming therapy, but there then shorter version came. Shorter version means brief therapy came, right? Anxiety provoking and anxiety suppressive therapy. Peter, so these are the people who have given these therapies. Peter distinguishes between anxiety provoking and anxiety suppression therapies. Anxiety provoking therapy confronts defenses directly and focuses on limited dynamic change, while anxiety suppression therapy is more supportive. Therapy length is typically limited with a maximum of 20 sessions for anxiety provoking therapy. Existential method of time limited psychotherapy. James Mann existential method emphasized the finite nature of time and focus on evolving hours of the fitness. Therapy consists of 12 sessions. So this is all about how they have from therapies they have make the brief therapies. Earlier the sessions number of sessions were too much and the time consumption in each session was too much. Now they have reduced it. They have made it as brief. One second. Okay. Methods of child psychotherapy. So now we'll be talking a bit about child psychotherapy. In this, I will just attachment based intervention, which is very important. Attachment based didactic development psychotherapy (DDP). Then circle of security. Okay. Development of Dr. Daniel Hook's DDP is evidence based and target attachment disorder. Evidence based is where you have evidence on the existence of that disorder. So, target attachment disorder, complex post traumatic stress disorder, and relative attachment disorder. So, these are the disorders where we can use attachment based interventions. It focuses on creating a therapeutic environment characterized by safety, self regulation, self effective, and self-reflective and informative processing, traumatic experience integration, rational engagement, and positive effect enhancement. So, didactic development psychotherapy involves attaining to the child's subjective experience and reflecting them back through various means such as eye contact, facial expression, and gestures. So, sometimes if a client is coming, we are able to understand their facial expression, their gesture, through their eye contact, we can understand whether the person is having to what intensity the person is having the issue. Cognitive behavior strategies are also utilized in didactic development psychotherapy. So, didactic development psychotherapy is usually given to the children who have attachment related issues. Right. Circle of security. Developed by Marvin et al., the intervention aims to shift problematic attachment caregiving patterns to more appropriate pathway. So, this therapy main intention aim is to shift the problematic attachment problematic attachment caregiving patterns to more appropriate pathways. So for example, there is a problematic attachment. Sometimes some kids are crying, they don't want to go school, for example. They are very much attached with something, either it is an object or family member. So that problematic behavior they are trying to change in appropriate pathway is how they can go to the school and all. Based on attachment theory, it focuses on providing a secure base and haven of safety for children. So, based on the attachment theory, it is trying to give them, for example, which school we will send them. So, we will try to see their friends wherever they are studying, we will send them to that school only, right? So that they will get proper environment, they will not feel insecure. Caregivers are educated about the children's attachment needs and taught to enhance sensitivity and appropriate responsiveness of the child's signals. So, caregivers are getting training how they can take care of the needs of the child and how they can understand their signals what they want. The therapy involves an initial assessment. In this therapy, there is an initial assessment required. Initial assessment means, for example, some tests. Yeah, we need to understand about the child, what is his parenting style, what is his behavior, where he will be more adaptive. These all basic assessments we can do. Weekly sessions over 20 weeks, group sessions, video feedback, and psychoeducation discussion. So these ways are where we can give the intervention to the child. Attachment and Biobehavioral Catch-up (ABC). ABC is designed for infants who have experienced early adverse care and disruptions in care, particularly those in foster care. So, ABC is developed for those individuals who have early adverse care. Like adverse care means where they have problem with the care in the earlier stages, right? It targets issues such as providing nurturing when it does not come to naturally. For example, mother is not able to feed the babies, so for nurturing purpose they are trying to give this therapy, right, to help the babies to overcome from that gratification. These intervention of yeah, nurturing manner even in the absence of care the infant, helping foster parents follow the children's lead and reducing threatening behavior among foster parents. So it also helps to reduce their threatening behavior. The intervention consists of 10 sessions administered in caregiver home by professional social worker or and is assisted through caregiver. Okay. So it usually happen in the home. So the professional social worker or counselor is going to the home of the client of the baby to give this type of intervention. ABC currently being assessed in a randomized clinical trial involving 20 foster families. So there are researches going on this in different 200 families. With clinical trial is before something we put into the market, we need to have a trial. For example, when COVID came, that COVID shield, before putting it in the market, there were people, volunteers, who took the trial. There is no side effect of it. Play therapy. Play therapy involves creating intense relationship experienced between therapist and children. So, play therapy is another therapy which, okay, involves creating intense relationship. So it helps to create intense relationship between the therapist and the child with the primary medium of communication. Okay, therapists use a child's fantasies and symbolic play to understand and communicate with them effectively. So therapist is using fantasies and symbols play to understand. So symbols which child likes to make them more comfortable with the therapist. Goals. So the goal of this therapy is decrease behavior and emotional difficulties that interfere the normal functioning. So for example, there are some behaviors which are not appropriate behaviors, or there are some emotional difficulties. Therapist through play therapy will help the child to overcome from such malpractices to be in normal practices. Improves communication and understanding between the child and their parents. So play therapy also helps us to improve the child's communication skills and the relation with the parent, between child and parent. Enhance verbal expression, self observation, impulse control, and coping skills, trust and relationship abilities. Addressing conflict is common to different stages of cognitive and emotional development. Therapeutic process. Therapists observe and interpret the themes and patterns in the child's play to understand their thoughts and feelings. So, therapist is trying to understand their thoughts and feelings through understanding their play patterns. Treatment may be combined with other interventions like medication or an attention or anxiety issue. So, if there is an anxiety issue with the child, so even though the child is having medicine, the therapist is along with that only taking the therapy, doing the therapy. Treatment progress through initial evaluation, middle. Okay, so the therapist is also taking the progress how we are taking. For example, we have internals, right, for students. If we want to know their progress in exam, so we have different type of exams, we have different type of internals by which we are trying to get their progress where they fall. So same way therapists also take evaluations in the progress of their issues. Parent child interaction therapy, psychotherapy. Target population. Parent child interaction therapy is effective for abused and at risk children with disruptive behavior and their caregiver. So, parent child interaction therapy is used for the kids or children who are abused and who are at risk. At risk means at risk for anything, behavior, behavioral issue or something. It is suitable when parent child relations are strained, interactions are poor. So it is used when parent child relationship is not good. There is contradiction, there is conflict. Treatment approach. Therapeutic coaches parents while they interact with their children using one way mirror or an earbag audio device to provide real-time guidance. So when they are interacting, they will the counselor or the therapist will use, for example, one earphone in the child and speak that you have to interact with this way, or the father also. Now it depends on who is behaving how. So that way they will take care of that. Okay. Child director interaction aims to foster loving and nurture. So when actually if there is no communication, there is no love, there is no care. So communication is very important for, so it mostly focus on communication related issues. And so there are some parent direct interaction also focus on establishing structure and consistent discipline techniques. Okay. See, if a parent is not talking to a child or there is a communication gap, they will not learn the behavior which they are supposed to learn. So, what would be the benefits of this therapy? Reduce behavior problems in young children by addressing negative parent-child patterns. So, when the pattern, the relationship between parent and child is improved, then it will reduce the problematic behavior. Interrupts harmful cycle of negative behavior between parent and child. It interrupts the harmful because it is very harmful if there is a gap, there is a distance between a parent and a child. Encourages positive interactions and non-violent disciplines techniques. So it encourages positive interactions. High parent satisfaction and adaptation in various populations and cultures. The developmental individual differences and relationship basic model. Okay, this wait. We will talk about important because after 12:30 we have to leave. Okay. Okay. Behavior modification technique, which is very important in child because sometimes they have some sort of behavior which is not appropriate or which is not accepted in the society. So behavior modification we will be talking about. Focus on behavior. So characteristics of behavior modification. So in this, they are focusing on the behavior procedures based on behavioral principles. So they will be focusing on the procedures, which procedures they are going to take care on the basis of behavioral principle. Emphasize on current environment events. So they will be focusing on current environmental events. Precise description of behavior modification procedure. They will be giving specific or brief introduction about the modification process, right? Treatment implementation by people in everyday life. So they will plan treatment accordingly. Measure of behavior change. Then there will be a measure of behavior change. Measure of behavior change means if I am giving a behavioral therapy, behavior modification therapy to a kid, so how much it is effective, I need to take measure of that from initial day till the date I am giving it. Right. Then de-emphasize on past events as cause of behavior. So we don't have to emphasize on why this behavior happened. We have to de-emphasize on past. Rejection of hypothetical underlying causes of behavior. So we should reject the hypothetical. Okay, it is because of this. Don't work on that. Whatever past it happened, whatever it happened, but we need to focus on the current behavior to modify it. Major figures in behavioral therapy or behavioral approach or school of behavior. Ivan Pavlov. Pavlov conducted experiments that uncovered the basic process of respondents conditioning. If you remember, we have discussed in the last lecture about Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov. Yes. So he did an experiment on dog salivation stimulus. So on that concept, on that principle only, aversion therapy is there. Classical conditioning, which I was talking about, aversion therapy, right? So aversion therapy is on the basis of Pavlov's this classical conditioning, this thing. So, what happened in that experiment? Can anybody tell me? In Pavlov's therapy, in Pavlov's experiment, that dog. Yes, that dog experiment. Come on, Pavlov's dog experiment. Everybody knows that. What happened in that? Anyone? Yes, I want some responses. What was Pavlov's experiment? Please, come on. Anyone? Nobody is there to answer. That dog experiment.
Like training the dogs for
Uh-huh.
for the natural stimulus, like training the dogs.
Okay. So what he did is he was actually working on stomach. He was endocrinologist something. So he was working on saliva, right? So he did an experiment. What experiment he did? He had a dog. So he give stimulus as well as conditions. Whenever he used to give food, he used to give bell at the same time. So after some time, the dog got conditioned to that bell, right? The dog got conditioned to that bell. So whenever bell happen, even food is not there, dog will start salivating, right? So that way, so that's why I was talking about aversion therapy. If somebody is addicted to alcohol or any drugs, whenever they try to use that, if for some time we are giving them electric shock, then what will happen is they will get habitual to that shock. If we touch this, it will do this thing. So there will be conditioning. When there is conditioning, so they won't try to touch it. That way they are reducing the behavior. Clear? Okay. Okay. So major figures were Ivan Pavlov, who did on classical conditioning. Then we had Thorndike. Major contribution was to description of the law of effect. Then Watson, J.B. Watson, John B. Watson. So he the article psychology as the behaviorist view. Okay, and B.F. Sickner. B.F. Sickner also gave Operant conditioning. Sickner explained the field of behaviorism originally described by Watson. Okay, operant conditioning. So this contamination I was talking about, or systematic desensitization what I was talking about. So it is all because of behavioral therapists only. There is another therapy which we are using is flooding. How have you ever heard about flooding? Anyone? There is a therapy called flooding. So in flooding, what usually happen is, for example, if a person is having fear of dogs or rats, what we will do is wherever there are n number of rats in a room, we keep n number of rats and we will throw the person in that. That's what flooding. Or we will throw rats in his room, n number of rats. So that's what flooding is. That is also a therapy because they won't do anything harmful. So that is also a way how we are doing flooding therapy to give the exposure to the client. Clear? Oh, just a second. Okay. Now we have respondent conditioning. What is respondent conditioning? We will see. So respondent conditioning, also known as classical conditioning, which Avalon, okay, we already discussed this. Pavlov's. So in this unconditional stimulus that we know, we have already discussed it in last class also. Counter conditioning. Hello. Walaikum salam. Okay. So counter conditioning aims to reduce and eliminate undesirable response by pairing the eliciting stimulus with new or more adaptive response. So some stimulus or some response which is not. Sometimes our small kids they take key, so our vehicle key. So what we are doing is we are taking that key by giving something different to them. For example, if they take headphone or mobile phone, we will say, okay, take chocolate, give us phone. So they will take chocolate, they will give back phone, or they will give back keys or something. That is counter conditioning. Okay. The process involves identifying the situation that elicit the undesired responses and eliminate uh, establishing ways to elicit incompatible responses that dominate over the undesirable response through repeated pairing with a new. Okay. So I will give you counter conditioning some other example. There will be one example once. Okay. So, in this technique, what we are going to use, we are going to replace an undesirable or maladaptive response to a stimulus with more desirable or adaptive response. Right. It is based on the principle of classical conditioning and aims to change person's emotional reaction to a situation or object by associating it with positive or neutral experience rather than negative ones. Counter conditioning is especially useful for treating phobias, anxieties, and other conditions. Okay. For example, a person who fears dog can be gradually exposed to dogs in a safe and controlled environment while engaging in relaxed technique, allowing them to associate dogs with feeling of calm instead of fear. So the flooding technique what I was talking. So that's what I was talking about. It is a classical conditioning only. Because of that reason only they have developed that therapy. So for example, a person who is having fear, so what we are doing is we are associating two things, some behavior which is unacceptable. Fear of dogs is unacceptable, we are reducing it with something, putting that all dogs together in a safe environment where we are make sure that dogs will not harm the client, right? That's what counter conditioning is. Someone with a fear of spiders may undergo counter conditionally by repairing relaxation technique with exposure to image or description of spider. So, for example, another example is somebody is having fear of spider. So, what we can do is we can give exposure to the image of spider. We can have show the photo of spider and reduce the anxiety through different breathing technique and all. Counter conditioning can also be used to address approaches respond to stimulus associated with addictive behaviors, such as pairing associative stimuli with chaos related to substance abuse. So some people have, if they are not getting on time that drugs and all, so there will be chaos in that. So that also we can pair through counter conditioning. Okay. Operant conditioning, positive reinforcement and punishment. Reinforcement and punishment. So these are the two major principles in operant conditioning. Reinforcement, any event that increases the likelihood of a behavior occurring again in the future. For example, when a small baby starts walking, we say, wow, very good, appreciate, right? So that this behavior, the baby should continue, right? If a baby is trying to touch the socket, or saying she ganda bacha, don't do that, so that to reduce that behavior. So that's what punishment is, any event that decreases the likelihood of a behavior occurring again in the future. So whenever we try to reduce a behavior from occurrence in the future, we will give punishment. Now, types of reinforcement and punishment. There are two types of reinforcement and punishment each. So we have positive reinforcement. Increase the probability of a behavior by adding a desirable stimulus or consequence. For example, if I am asking a boy to get a distinction in 10th to get mobile phone. So I am giving something so that he will continue that behavior. It is called positive reinforcement. Negative reinforcement. Increase the probability of a behavior by removing an adverse stimulus. So the kid is using mobile phone. We are taking that mobile phone because you have to spend more time on studies. So removing something which is good, or not allowing a baby to watch TV until he did the homework. So increase the probability of a behavior by removing probability of a behavior. Here also we have to increase. In positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, we are increasing the probability of behavior. In positive, we are giving something. In negative, we are taking something. Now, positive punishment decrease the probability of by adding decrease the probability of behavior by adding an adverse stimulus or consequence. You did not perform well, so we are beating you. Okay, or adverse stimulus. Adverse stimulus means which is not good, right? So to decrease that behavior, we are giving punishment actually. It can be beating. Then negative punishment means decreasing the probability of a behavior by removing a desirable stimulus. Decreasing, he is watching videos which are not appropriate, so we are taking his phone away to reduce that behavior, right? So you have to keep in mind two differences. So in positive reinforcement or negative, in reinforcement we are increasing the behavior, in punishment we are decreasing the behavior. Now, in positive, we are adding something, either reinforcement or punishment. In negative, we are removing something. That is the only, if you make a diagram of this imaginary, in reinforcement, we are increasing the behavior. In punishment, we are decreasing the behavior. In reinforcement, in positive, we are adding something. In negative, we are removing something. Clear? Increasing desirable behavior. Reinforcement is key in operating conditional to boost desirable behavior. I still remember when I was kid, I used to count that how many very good I got in a week, how many goods I got in a week. So reinforcement. If you are doing something, you are getting appreciation. You are presenting a paper, you are attending a conference, you are doing some good thing. You are getting appreciation, you are getting acknowledgement. You will try to increase that behavior. Identifying individuals' preference for reinforcement is crucial. Now, identifying individuals' preference for reinforcement. For example, for a baby, chocolate will be very good reinforcement. But if I give you guys chocolate, I don't think it will be that reinforcement to you, right? You may have some other priorities. So finding that is sometimes very difficult. Self-reinforcement play a role in self-control process. Self-reinforcement. Sometimes we give self-reinforcement. Yeah, I did a good job, right? So it plays in self-control process. Strategies like shaping, modeling, padding, and guidance help initial behaviors. So shaping, modeling, these are the techniques which we are using for behavior. So it helps us to initiate different behaviors. Variables of reinforcement. Amount of reinforcement impacts behavior. To what amount? For example, one chocolate and two chocolates. So amount of reinforcement. What will be the impact of behavior? So it varies. It depends on the amount of behavior reinforcement. Okay. Delay of reinforcement affects effectiveness. So if salary is you people who are getting salary on 30th, they will be very happy instead of people who get on 4th or 5th. Are you getting? So value of reinforcement. If you get immediate reinforcement, it will be you did last year something, now I am calling you, okay, you take chocolate, last year you achieved this. You won't be even able to remember on what event I did, so you won't get pleasure. If I give you currently you are doing something and I give you reinforcement, you will be feeling very proud. You will share in LinkedIn, you will share in Insta. Okay, I got today chocolate. If I am giving the same chocolate for last year's event, what you will write on Instagram or this LinkedIn? That last year I performed somewhere, today I got the gift for that. So you won't do that. That's what delay of reinforcement affect effectiveness, with immediate reinforcement being more impactful. Schedule of reinforcement, which whether continuous or intermittent, influence learning and maintenance of behavior. Schedule of reinforcement, every 30th you will get salary. So schedule of reinforcement, whether continue or intermittent, influence learning. So always we are waiting, okay, when 30th will come, we will get salary. So like that, schedule reinforcement. Facilitating generalization and maintenance. After establishing behaviors in a specific setting, it is essential to facilitate their generalization and maintenance in other environments. So, for example, in my cabin, I had a client. I tried to maintain his behavior, I tried to modify his behavior, but we have to facilitate it as his other environment also. Other environment includes school and home, right? That is what facilitation and generalization and maintenance of behavior. Strategies include facing clients of specific behavior change reinforcement into more natural form of environment or enlightened support from other reinforcement newly acquired behavior. So that's what we need to put the strategies where we can give the reinforcement and modify the behavior which will be adaptable in all the settings, including, for example, home, school, and other. Contingency contraction. Contingency contraction, I have given you example of that good, writing and like counting of goods, how many goods you got in school. So that's what contingency contraction is. Specific operation contingencies clearly and is often written. For example, you did good, I will give you a token for that. So when you give me 10 token, you will get some sort of reinforcement. Involves negotiation and contract to ensure understanding and agreement. Powerful tool in classroom setting for behavior management. If you don't shout at others, if you don't disturb the class, I will give you chocolate. If you maintain it for 1 week, I will give you two chocolate. So it usually is a powerful technique in classroom setting. Students negotiate expectations and reinforcement with teacher, leading to improved behavior and classroom atmosphere. Contingency in contingency contract. Now, contingency is crucial for behavior change program to be effective. So it is used. Inconsistency. Consistency means, for example, every weekend I am planning to have some sort of reinforcement. If the consistency is lacking, it will have effect, right? Okay. Consistency in okay, inconsistency can lead to uncertainty. If there are people who will get discouraged when they are not getting salary on time, when they are not getting some, when there is inconsistency in something. So if every day you are ordering something, for example, milk or something, if it's not coming on time 1 day or 2 days, you will be angry on that person. You will say, why it's not on time? We are late. We have coffee timing at this time. So inconsistency again have uncertainty, and there will be a problem of anxiety or hope, other problems. Contingency contracting promotes consistency and mutual fulfillment of contract terms. Operant condition involves reciprocal and contingent contraction. Establishes satisfying priority among involved parties. Okay, so reciprocity. Reciprocity is, you, if you support me, I am supporting you. So that's what reciprocal is. Uh, Give respect and take respect, like that. That's what reciprocal is. So it should be in reciprocal way. It's not just one sided. Token economy. Clients are reinforced with tokens. For example, poker chips that can be exchanged for desired reinforcement. Token. So I am giving you tokens. If you collect these many tokens, you will get this. Token economy are widespread in various settings. Tokens earned can be exchanged for various reinforces, reducing the risk of situation. So, for example, token economy in different companies like multinational companies, MNCs, what they do is they do use this concept still. So they are giving tokens. If you are done with 100 tickets, you will get one token, and then you can buy something, chocolate or anything. There will be vendor machines that automatic machines where you can use that token and you will get the reinforcement. Tokens address the issue of delay in reinforcement and can be dispensed immediately after desired behavior. So you can get it immediately if you do the 100 tickets in a day. Whenever you want, you can just take the do it. Token system are effective in both classroom and home setting for maintaining behavior and providing incentives. So it works in classroom as well as in home settings to maintain the behavior. Decreasing undesirable behaviors. What is decreasing undesirable behavior? Some undesirable behavior which is not desirable, which is not acceptable. So decrease in undesirable behavior. Extinction. Terminating the contingency between a behavior and its contingent event. Extinction means unholding reinforcement decreases the. One second. Ineffectiveness of large behavior. Extinction is okay. So extinction. Extinction means when previously conditioned response decrease or disappear. For example, extinction was used in classical conditioning when the dog was conditioned to the bell. Okay, so what they saw is when after not giving food but bell was happening, the saliva was coming, right? But day to day it reduced, it disappeared. After some time it disappear, it will not be continuously like whenever bell happen the dog will start salivation. So after long time, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, the quantity of salivation reduces. That's what extinction is. A key concept of behavioral psychology, particularly within the framework of classical conditioning and open conditioning. It refers to the process through which a previously conditional response, you were conditional towards salary, towards reinforcement, right? Decreases or disappears after the conditioning stimulus is no longer paired with the unconditional stimulus. After it is not paired with the unconditional stimulus, after long time it may decrease. That is what concept of extinction is. Clear? Okay. Then we have punishment. Common approach to reduce undesirable behavior. Construct a So punishment, as I told you, for example, a child is not able to score good marks. There will be punishment. Punishment can be in any form. It is not taking a stick and beating the child. Punishment is you can't go out with friends for party. You can't watch TV on Sundays. Whatever his favorite is, you are taking away it. That's what punishment is, right? Then overcorrection involves practicing correct behavior or correcting consequences of misbehavior. So if you are not doing this, for example, you are doing some sort of behavior, there is correction, you are correcting it again and correcting it. correcting consequence of misbehavior to the better than normal state. So if there is a misbehavior, if sometimes a guest is coming, we are shouting at the baby, you have to do pranam to the guest. Do it again in front of that only. So that's what correction is. Do it this way, hold your both hands like this. So that's what correction is. Negative punishment, already we discussed that, involving removing something reinforced when misbehavior occurs. If you did this, this was your behavior, you did not score good, so no parties, no nothing. Stimulus station. Floods clean with reinforcer until it loses reinforcing effect. Okay, so in this, for example, flooding floods client with reinforcer. So you are giving 100 chocolates together, then the taste will not be like that. Then the child will not be that much interested. Used to reduce reinforcer effect of undesirable behavior. Contains components of adverse counter conditioning and context. So it is when you are giving extra reinforces at a time. Areas of application where we can use these all techniques. Developmental disabilities. If a child or a client is having developmental delays or disabilities. Mental illnesses. If a child is having mental illnesses. Education. If a child is not able to perform good in education, where you can use this. Rehabilitation. So rehabilitation centers, community psychology, clinical psychology, as well as child management. So these all areas where we can use these therapies. Got it? So these are the applications of psychotherapies. Hi, sir. That is here.
Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
So, what time you'll be continue, sir? Up to
No, almost it is done, sir. You tell me. You were supposed to give some
so by,
instructions.
by one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. By month.
Okay, sir. Okay, okay, sir. By one, we our sir will be there. I will also there. No problem. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir. Okay. Sir.
Only two students joined, no?
No, there were some more, two, three students. Then I think another
I
left.
think they left. Okay, okay,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
okay, sir. Okay, good,
Okay.
good.
Okay, sir.
Okay, continue, sir. Continue.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, so now we will be talking about these were earlier we were talking about the therapies which are used on children. Now we will be talking about cognitive behavior therapies, including rational emotive therapy, CBT and REBT. So history of CBT. Okay, so Adler, a close associate of Freud, emphasized the significance of thinking in human emotionality in contrast to Freud's focus on unconditional, unconscious conflicts. So there were people like Aaron Beck was the person who also worked on CBT, and earlier it was not CBT. It was just there was CT and BT, cognitive therapy and behavioral therapy. Then later on, because they understood that some people, for example, if there is a depression, a person is having depression. So in depression, he will be isolated. So that is a behavioral issue. He will be having or she will be having negative thoughts. So that is a cognitive issue. So in that situation, what we are going to do is we are not going to just depend on BT, or we are not going to just depend on CT. So where we will be focusing on both CBT, right? Okay. So cognitive behavior therapy is widely used in psychological treatments. It focuses on the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behavior. This is important point. It focuses on thoughts, feelings, and behavior. Right. It is based on the premise that our thoughts influence our emotions and behavior. If I'm still lonely, I will get some sort of negative thought. It will make me upset. Then I will be isolated. So it is a vicious circle. Vicious circle means one is dependent on another one, another is dependent on another one. Right. So by changing maladaptive thought pattern, we can improve emotion well-being and change problematic behavior. So, if we work on these thought patterns, through that we can improve our emotional well-being as well as change in problematic behavior also. So, key concepts in CBT are cognitive distortions. CBT identifies and challenges cognitive distortions, which are irrational or exaggerated thoughts patterns that contribute to negative emotions. So, cognitive distortions. For example, I am getting lot of thoughts about okay, why I am here, what I will do, what all. So these all will create negative emotions. So there are some points like all or none thinking, viewing situation in black and white terms with no middle ground. People used to think in black and white. All or nothing thinking. That's one. Overgeneralization. Another point in this is overgeneralization, making broader consciousness based on a single event or piece of event. Overgeneralization, making a like small event is there, somebody could not remember to greet you, so you are making it or how dear that person. Oh, you are making it a big issue. We usually have okay, because of his behavior he did not greet you, your whole day will be upset. Sometimes we did that, right? Then we have catastrophizing, so expecting the worst possible outcome in every situation. For example, if this happened, then I'm thinking I'm gone, everything is gone, this is like that. Okay. Personalization, blaming oneself for events that are not within one's control. For example, something happened, people feel like I was giving you example of yesterday's client. So the client think that there is a family member's death, it is because of me, I could not take care of that. So the thing which is not in our control, we are blaming ourselves, it happened because of our behavior, right? Then behavioral activation, we have CBT often involves engaging in behavioral activation, which encourages individuals to participate in activities that can improve mood and reinforcement feeling positive feelings, particularly for those experiencing depression. For example, so as we discuss, when a person is in depression, so CBT engaged in behavior activation. Behavior activation is we will be suggesting people to involve in activity scheduling. Activity scheduling is why people are getting lot of a number of thoughts, negative thoughts. When they are idealistic, then only people will start thinking. Do you know sometimes people forget to have food also when they are engaged in work? I will give you my example. Yesterday, I was busy with IGNOU classes as well as departmental work, so I could not get time to have food. So then, how negative thought will come and attack me? But if I am ideally sitting, then I will think, okay, what will happen to my home? What is going on this? So a lot of n number of negative thoughts will affect us. Okay, so when a person is in depression, track thoughts. Okay. Identify cognitive distortion. Sorry. Uh, Individuals participate in activities that can improve mood and reinforce positive. So when a person is isolated, a person is staying isolated. If we engage them through activity scheduling into something, there are people, especially during COVID and all, a lot of people got weight, a lot of people went into depression because they were not doing anything. So then also during counseling we used to teach them that okay, you can do some exercise which you can do at home, even in bedroom you can do a lot of yoga exercises, breathing exercises. So you try to engage yourself with something. Otherwise, if ideally you are sitting, then obviously negative thoughts will attack you, right? Thought record. A common CBT technique involves keeping a thought record or diary to track negative thoughts, identifying cognitive distortions, and frame those thoughts in a more balanced or realistic way. So, this is again a technique what as a cognitive therapist is using with a client, that they are asking them, because sometimes they will say "Ki we are getting thought, I don't remember." So okay, if you are getting thought, because when you are getting thought, when you are writing it, you have to give rationale why you are getting this thought, or you have to think on that, you will get insight more on that. Okay, so then the intensity of that thought can be reduced also, or the therapist will try to understand the pattern of that thought, right? Another is problem solving skill. CBT teaches individuals how to approach problems in a structured way, right? Focusing on identifying potential solutions, evaluating their effectiveness, and implement them. So, to understand the structural way, or to focus on identifying potential solutions, sometimes we get stuck to take a decision if there is a problem. So when you are consulting somebody, some psychologist or clinical psychologist, they will guide you how to sort it out, right? When we are stuck, we are not able to take the decision. Then there will be cognitive distortion. Exposure therapy. In treating anxiety disorder, CBT may include exposure therapy, where individuals gradually face their fear in controlled manner to reduce anxiety and avoid behavior. As I gave example in systematic desensitization, when I was talking about a person who is having fear of sitting in aeroplane or flying in aeroplane. So how step by step we are taking that individual, and we are giving that individual exposure towards this, right? Okay, now we will be talking about some applications of CBT. So CBT has been shown to be effective in treating depression by addressing negative thoughts patterns and encourage positive behavior change. So through researches, it has been proved that for depression, CBT is working nicely. Okay. Then anxiety disorders. It is particularly effective for various anxiety disorders, including GAD, general anxiety disorder, and social anxiety disorder, and panic disorder, by helping clients confront and manage their fears. So, as I said, flooding example I was giving you, flooding. So people have anxiety towards dogs. So by that this technique, we can help them uh, making their thought process clear. कि, okay, when you make them understand that dog is not a dangerous thing until and unless it's not mad, so that will help them to reduce the fear. Then obsessive compulsive disorder, there also we can use it. CBT is particularly exposure and response prevention is effectively in treating OCD by helping individuals confront their obsessions and resist compulsions. CBT is also used in post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. For example, when a person saw some accident or incident, so that flashbacks may be coming to that person, so that becomes post-traumatic stress disorder. So that can be also treated by CBT technique. Eating disorders. Okay, so eating disorders. CBT is also affected in eating disorders by addressing cognitive distortions related to body image, especially eating disorders. Females are more into eating disorders because of the body image issue. So, CBT can help the client to understand about the body image issues and all, so that they will promote healthier eating behavior. Right. Substance use disorder. CBT can help individuals identifying triggers for substance use, develop coping strategies, and modify behaviors related to addiction. Right. So it is evidence based. There were evidences for CBT. Okay. CBT is supported by extensive research and clinical studies demonstrating its effectiveness across the range of mental health issues, structured and goal oriented. The structural nature of CBT helps clients feel more in control of their treatment and progress. Short term treatment. CBT is typically a short term treatment compared to the other therapies, rather ranging from a few weeks to several months. Skill development. Clients learn practical skills they can apply throughout their lives in manage stress, anxiety, and emotional challenges. Okay, okay. So this was about CBT brief. So in this, actually, we have ABC model in CBT. Okay. The ABC model, originally developed by Albert Ellis and adapted for general CBT use, illustrates the role of cognition in emotional episode. A represents the activation of event or experience, B represents belief, and C represents the consequence. For example, okay, example is also belief about the event. A person prone to depression may interpret a friend posing them in the street without acknowledging them as evidence that they are unlikable and worthless. So, for example, a person who is not acknowledging or greeting you on the way, which I initially gave you the example. So, people may interpret it in different way. They will feel because I am not likely, I am not worth, that's why it happened to me. So, there is a activation of event, B belief that they have, and C consequence, it is because of this. That's what ABC model is in. Okay, then we have dysfunctional thinking, which we can treat by ABC model, which we can treat by CBT therapy. Dysfunctional thinking means when the thinking pattern is when there are irrational beliefs. So, definition of irrational beliefs includes irrational beliefs are those beliefs that block a person from achieving their goal. Irrational belief. I feel that I can't do this. It is an irrational belief, right? So, blocking a person from achieving the goal. If I think that I can't do this, then I can't achieve the goal. I can't teach you the lecture. So, it is blocking my achievement to achieve my goal. Create extreme emotions that persist and distress. I will feel so tired, so bad, so this thing. Okay, so that will affect and distress me. If I am sad, it will distress me, right? Lead to behavior that harm oneself, others, or one's life in general. It will lead, if I don't like myself, I may have self harm tendencies, right? Distort reality and not are not supported by available evidences. Okay. Certain illogical ways of evaluating oneself, others, and the world. So, in this, we have certain illogical ways. If he did not greet me because I am ugly, because I don't, they don't like me, I am worthless, I am not, I'm useless. So, sometimes we use some illogical ways. Three levels of thinking. In CBT, human beings, big beings think at three levels: inference, evaluations, and core beliefs. Core beliefs are subconscious and determine how individuals react to life events. Subconscious, we talked early in the morning what subconscious mind as per Freud is. So core beliefs are subconscious which we can recall and determine how individuals react to life events. Event triggers thoughts, and when something consciously think depending on the okay, sometimes you might have heard about the thoughts are triggered. Okay, you don't do this because it will trigger the person to its past trauma. So sometimes we have some memories with some event, right? So that will trigger them with that past memories. Okay, ABC model already we discussed about steps in okay, there are steps in cognitive behavior therapy. Psychoeducation is we are first educating them, helping the client understand their emotions and behaviors are caused by belief and thinking. It's most important point that we need to first understand, or being a counselor, we need to make client understand that whatever behavior they are having, it is because of their belief and thinking. Sometimes a lot of people have low self-esteem. They will come for counseling, sir, I can't do this, it's not my cup of tea. It is their belief. When they have same capacity to have food, same quantity what other people are having, the brain size is similar, the body structure is similar, why can't they perform similar way? Okay, so it is all about their belief and thinking as per the CBT, not as per me. Provide a brief explanation of CBT principles and assign relevant reading material. Unconscious relevant beliefs we already discussed. Dispute, okay. Steps. Process of cognitive behavior therapy. The main components of CBT intervention includes engage client, access the problem. So first is engaging the client in the counseling process, assess the problem, person and situation. The problem, we have to assess here all the three things. The problem, what problem the person is having, depression. Then person, what type of person he is, introvert, extrovert, or personality traits, or whatever situation. Then situation, is it because recently something happened, is it because of the examination, is it because of some other issue? So that all things we need to understand whether there is any relationship between the events which are going in their environment, which is very important to understand. Then compare the client for prepare the client for therapy. Then we had to prepare the client for therapy. Okay, implement the treatment program. We had to implement treatment program. Okay, it will run like this. We had to make the full plan. How many sessions we are planning? How much progress? Evaluate the progress after 2 sessions, 3 sessions. Progress should be always there, because when we are taking progress, even when we are going to a physician, when they are giving treatment for any sort of disease, then also they are saying that after 1 week you need to show me. Then they will either reduce the medicine or change the medicine or add the medicine. So evaluation of progress is important to understand how much effective our therapy is. Prepare the client for termination. So after everything, after our sessions are done, we have to prepare the client for termination also. Termination is end of the sessions. Cognitive behavior therapies. Okay, in that cognitive techniques are coming. Imaginary techniques, self-monitoring, which already I discussed with you. Okay. Okay. Earlier we talked about psychotherapy with for children and adults. Earlier we talked about children, and there are some which are used for both. Like psychotherapy, we already talked psychodynamic approach. So there is a lot of repetition because that are used for children as well as for adult. Family therapy, and remaining everything is given in PPT. Okay. So with this, I am going to stop here. And anyone have any doubt till now? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, sir. Sir,
Sir.
sir. Yes, sir. You can continue, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome,
Uh,
sir.
Again, we'll have classes for MSc PFP for July 2024 session. So admissions are not completed. Once the admissions are completed, we start these sessions. I think November or December are based on our convenient and TJPS college. We will have the sessions.
Sure,
And
sir. Sure, sir.
Same time, again, July session MA psychology classes also you have to take. So you are the very resource for us now.
Thank you, sir.
Hmm?
Sure, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Gopal garu,
సార్ రికార్డింగ్ క్లాస్ చేస్తున్నారు.
recording close చేశారు. Session కూడా close చేశారు. Okay, sir. Thank you. All the
Thank you,
students,
sir.
students also.